Future Market has thousands of board games at discounted prices. Click the direct link below to see all of those discounted games. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Back in 2019, Stonemaier Games came out with Wingspan, which to this day is still one of the most popular games ever invented. Now, they've gone back and reimagined and re-implemented and taken mechanisms that were inspired by Wingspan and come out with a standalone game that's on its own called Wyrmspan, where it's about dragons. So I'm going to show you what's kind of different about this game and then show you what I think about it on the other side. In Wyrmspan, there's going to be all sorts of different types of dragons, like small, medium, or large dragons. There's going to be different types, like aggressive, or helpful, or shy, or playful. You're going to be laying eggs on some of these that have different size nests. You're going to be using coins, and gold, and crystals, and meat, and milk that's going to be needed in order to put these dragons, entice them into your different caves. Now, this is a point salad game. There's lots of ways to score points, but every player gets their own player mat, and there's 3 different types of caves. You have the Crimson Cavern, Golden Grotto, and Amethyst Abyss. Now, over the course of the game, you're going to be excavating these in order to place dragons in them. The first spot's excavated already of that cave, so you can place a dragon into any one of these 3 caves at the beginning of the game, but then you're going to have to excavate them in order to place them later. Turns are very simple. You have one of 3 choices: excavate, entice, or explore. Now, at the beginning of the round, by default, you'll start with 6 coins. Each of these you'll spend to do an action. So, unlike the Wingspan, you'll actually have 6 every round to start with. So you can spend one of these to entice a dragon. Now, to entice a dragon, this is the top cave here, so it can be enticed right there. And so we have this like this. So this one says it. Some dragons, like this one, could be placed in any 3 of the caves. So sometimes you have to, see which cave it can belong to. Then you have some costs, like you'll have to spend a meat and a crystal. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to be drafting certain cards and some resources and such, but here you have to spend the meat and the crystal in order to entice that dragon, and now it's going to be the end of your turn. Well, to the next turn, you want to explore this cave. Now, in order to explore the cave, the first time you do something, it's going to cost you, a coin here. But if you explore it a second time, it's going to cost you a coin and an egg. Now, everyone actually will start with 1 egg into their storage that's on their board, and so you could spend that. Sometimes you'll be getting eggs, laying eggs on specific dragons, like this one can hold up to 2. These are cool because they help you spend, things like this. But they also, if you have at the end of the game, each egg's worth a point by default. Now, Explorer, you can take your little Explorer and go to every Explore spot you can see. So here, I can gain any one of the 4 main resources: the meat, the gold, the milk, or the crystals. So I'd get that. Now here, if my dragon has a gain, which it does, I would gain this. So in this case, I gain meat. And now there's one more. Here, I'm going to gain a dragon guild space on the board, but then I will stop because, as you can see on this board, there is no other dragon here, so I must stop. So let's talk about the Dragon Guild. Now here, I'm going to move up and get the bonus. Here's an egg, but then as I go through, I might get a dragon card or a cave card, which is one of the excavation cards. But if you get all the way down here, you could place one of your unused markers. It's a little cube. You would place it here and you're going to get points. It's sort of a rushing way to get quick points here. Then you're going to be getting more bonuses as you go around. If you get to the top, you could put one of your cubes in one of these, and this will give you either an end game bonus or some sort of ability and reward. And this is a tile that is swapped out, and there's multiples of these, and they're specific for player count as well. So each game will give you different variable rewards as well. Now, last possible action is spending a coin to excavate. Again, I can look at any of the spots that needs excavation, and I play a cave card. Again, you start with some of these at the beginning of the game. Now here, what this is when I play this guy's back in the base camp. When I play this, I can gain a dragon card and go on the Dragon Guild. Or maybe instead of playing that one, I play one like this. This one says, hey, gain meat and lay an egg. And we talked about laying eggs and how different nest sizes will allow you to hold those, and those will combo with all sorts of other abilities and things like that. So that's excavating, and now in a future turn, I could entice another dragon here if I want to. Now, once everyone has passed, you go to round N, and you're going to look. This is the first, second, third, and fourth round, and these are goals. There's a bunch of these tiles. They're double-sided. There's plenty of goals. There's way more tiles than this. Now, this says dragons with this on their player mat. You saw me play a dragon that had that on there. The one that has the most would get 4 points and 1, 0, 0. The next round, at the end of the next round, wherever their position is on that Dragon Guild that we showed you, 5210. Next one, helpful dragons. Those are types of dragons I showed you on some of the cards. Again, points. The points just escalate, they get better. How many cave cards, basically how many times you've sort of excavated on your mat. So all different ways to score points over the course of the game. Now at the end of the round, you're going to refresh all the dragon and cave cards. Everyone's going to get 6 of the coins and an egg, so it kind of helps beef you up for the beginning of the actions for next round. At the end of the 4th round, whoever has the most points is the winner. And much like Wingspan, you can always turn in 2 resources to get 1, but the scoring is, like we said, each of the dragons themselves, just like in Wingspan, are going to have points you're going to score at the end of the game, but you're also going to get some dragons have end game scoring abilities, like for example, gaining 4 points for each set of dragon of each of these different traits. So sometimes you're getting end game points in addition to the points from the dragons. Sometimes you're going to be getting points for every egg that's on a dragon, every card that's tucked behind them. Different abilities will allow you to tuck these cards behind specific dragons. And we looked at all the different goals, the end game goals from round to round, plus on the Dragon Guild. There's all sorts of different ways to score here. Many of it's similar to Wingspan. And in general, that's how you play Wyrmspan. And lastly, let's show you just a few more dragons. Now, this was a hatchling. In these ones, these have some ongoing bonuses. It's an egg and 2 milk here. And then when you go exploring, you can tuck a card under here. But anytime you tuck a card, you gain a card. And when you tuck the 3rd card, you get 2 resources. So they have like these staged bonuses. And that's what sort of the hatchlings do, things like this. Or this one here, when you go here, you get to lay an egg, and look at the size of this nest here. Or this one, you gain 3 if it's the last dragon on the furthest of the right. Well, this one, you could pay up to 3 times, get rid of a cave card from your hand to lay an egg here. And it has a big nest there. This one, you'll lose 2 points at the end of the game for every other aggressive dragon in the same cave as this one. Sometimes when you play dragons, you'll get bonuses immediately, like another coin, giving you another action that turn. So there's all sorts of different abilities that you can cobble together in Wyrmspan. Now, as you can tell by watching that, there's definitely a lot of shared DNA between Wingspan and Wyrmspan. But of course, this is a standalone. Now, the designer is Connie Vogelman. She's the one that did Apiary, a previous release of Stonemaier Games. And the original designer, Elizabeth Hargrave, was involved in the development of this game. So what did I like about this? I'm going to talk about the things that were different from this, because if you're not familiar with Wingspan by now, I have a video where you can go back and see all of that. Well, what I like about this? Well, Stonemaier Games, great production, as always. Attention to detail, everything looks and feels really nice. As normal, Stonemaier Games knocks it out of the park with production. So let's talk about the things that were different about it. The Dragon Guild. This is the interesting spot where you're going around and you're getting different bonuses as you go down the Dragon Guild track. And when you get to the bottom, when you get to the top, you're going to be scoring points and or getting bonuses. And those bonuses change depending on the game, depending on which tile you put there. It's going to give you so those variable abilities are going to be giving you some more variability in the game. So this was a neat addition to the game. They foregoed the dice that was in Wingspan, and now you're getting resources, and you're getting those by exploring and doing different things like this. So no more dice there for resources. Typically when you're getting resources, you're gathering any one you want. So you have a lot more flexibility, but maybe it's a little more intricate as to how you go about getting those resources. You have to excavate before playing a dragon. In Wingspan, you can just take an action to play a bird, right? And sometimes those have some additional costs in addition to the bird and such. But here, you have to excavate the cave first by using a cave card. And then you can play the dragon. So it's sort of one more step that you have to think about. There's more planning involved in this game, which makes the game a little bit heavier than Wingspan, I'd say. The hatchlings. The hatchlings have, those are some cool dragons where they're sort of stacking bonuses on whether you cash resources on them or tuck cards on them. And after you do the 3rd one, you get an extra bonus and things like that. So different type, sort of a different type of dragon than all the rest. And it brought some interesting twists to it. The cave cards themselves, it's another sort of resource to have that card in your hand. So now you have dragon cards and cave cards. And those cave cards, again, you need them in order to excavate, in order to place the dragons there. But they're also going to provide other bonuses and resources and cards and this and that. So the card that you take also means a lot as to what's going on. The difference here is now you have an increasing cost. So if you're going to go and explore, the first time it's just a coin, then it's a coin and an egg, and then it's a coin and 2 eggs. So each time you explore the same cave in the same round, you have an increasing cost when doing that. Where before, in Wingspan, you would start on the right and work your way left. Here you start on the left and work your way right. But there is a higher cost if you're doing the same cave in the same round, so that's different. In this game, overall, there's definitely a decent amount of difference. This one I'd say, so earlier this year I did a review of Everdell Farshore, which was sort of a re-implementation, reimagining of Everdell. And in that review, it was, again, that game was probably more similar to Everdell than I'd say Wyrmspan is to Wingspan, but they're not far away, where they're successors, they're standalones, they use a lot of the DNA, but they certainly are different. Now, the other one was probably more similar because it was basically the same theme, same art and this and that, where this is sort of a completely different theme, completely different art. So this one feels more different from just an aesthetic perspective, but from a mechanical perspective, I'd say it's somewhat similar to the differences that they have. You know, you have the same DNA, but definitely feels different at the same time. Familiar, but different, if you will. This one has sort of more steps and more planning to your end result. You know, because you're not just taking dice and knowing what you're getting. You got to do certain things in order to set yourself up. You've got to get the cave card first, right? So maybe you have to explore first to get the cave card. Then you get in the cave card to play the excavation, and you're getting some bonuses from that, and maybe some other cards, and now you can play the dragon, but wait, you need more resources. So there's definitely more steps and more involved to get to your end result. If you're a person that likes multiple steps of planning, or you felt that Wingspan was a little too light and just it didn't have as much meat on the bone, and didn't have enough planning involved into it, I think you're gonna like this one better. It definitely has more weight, more things more steps you got to take, more nuanced as to how you get the things you want. Right, where Wingspan was a little more streamlined in that way. The interesting thing is, like, I like Wingspan's theme better. I just like real themes. I like the birds. I really like those. I like those personally more than dragons. You're probably going to be one way or the other. You already know which way you are before you even watch this video. But interesting that Wingspan actually had more actions. So it had like 4 actions you can take versus Wyrmspan, you have 3 actions. You know, you can entice, explore, or excavate. And in Wingspan, you actually have 4 actions you can take. But Wingspan actually felt a little bit more streamlined than this. And again, probably because it's probably less heavy, I would say. It's a little more streamlined into a little more like linear paths as to knowing what you need to do to get to what to get done. Where here, that path is sort of constantly sort of like changing and curving, and you've got to figure out how to get the things you want. You can't just go here and get what you need. You kind of have to, there's a cave card I can need, or I can go explore over here and get this. So there's more planning, there's more curves to take, there's less linear. In Wingspan, you know how to get the eggs, the birds, or the resources very easily, right? It's just all very streamlined. Where this one has a lot more variability as to how you go about getting those things and the planning of that. The variability of those cave cards comes into play as well. So you definitely have that extra step. That cave excavation really makes you slow down what you're trying to do, and you really have to think things through more turns ahead than you did in Wingspan. So it definitely is sort of heavier in that regard. So you should know now, which one is for you. So the excavation gives you more choices and more planning and more turns to get to what you want. For me, I found Wingspan more fun. But for other people, I think if you came into the Wingspan saying, I wish it was heavier, I wish there was more planning, I didn't like the randomness of the dice, things like that, and you like fantasy themes, I think you're gonna like this better than Wingspan. For me, I loved the way how streamlined and how linear Wingspan was. It didn't take away from the beauty of it. I felt like there was enough depth there with all the abilities of the birds that personally, I like that more streamlined better. But I could definitely see some liking the heavier aspect, the not so linear ways to get things, and all the different twists on here better than Wingspan as well, in addition to the theme. So that's what I think about Wingspan and Wyrmspan sort of together, if you will. Game Toppers upgrades every game you play, and if you missed their 4.0 Kickstarter, you can still late pledge and take advantage of over 40 unlocked stretch goals and early fulfillment. This campaign featured a new Young Sherlock table perfect for children's gaming and movable coffee table, 10 new thematic mats by top artists like Vincent Dutray, a new designer art series Minecraft topper with thematic art from Brent Woodside, and some of the best package deals they've had, including game mat bundles. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below to late pledge now.